And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt episode 268. I am your host, Cobb Backer. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. Today, we have another special guest. Stay tuned. We will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Cobb Backer sits down with game changers, trailblazers, and industry leaders who aren't afraid to tell it like it is. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Cobb Backer.
Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast here. Today, we have another fantastic guest, my friend Aaron Thomas. I think I've done that to you a lot.
A couple times.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Aaron Thomas, who is actually, I think, would be considered our fractional CMO for TC Backer and amongst other hats that you wore here for us and still continue to help us improve the quality of our company, whether it's lead generation to our marketing efforts, our brand recognition, and all the touch points that we've been able to create throughout the county, the states, and everywhere else that TC Backer is and lives today. So we thought, why not get Aaron back on the show today? He either reached out to me or I reached out to you about Sales Gadget, and really making a big push and a big splash in, the roofing and home service space for 2025. And I thought, why not have Aaron come on? Because you're in our building at least once or twice a week or on a call with somebody probably every day from our company. And the sad reality is that I don't get to see you very often. And I'm not just saying this part here just because we're live on Facebook right now, but I want you to know that I know what you do for us. And I thank you sincerely. I want this to be a public recognition that I do know. I speak with John on a regular basis. I speak with Robert on a regular basis. So I know what it is that you do for us and probably many other contractors across the country. And I know the quality and type of person you are, family person. You guys recently got married too, right?
Got
You and
married
Brooke?
5 years ago.
Was it?
We recently had our first child. So we
Yeah.
have a 5-month-old at home. So
Yeah. August 31st.
August 31st.
Yeah, 2024. How I know that is why that stands out, because my birthday's in August.
Okay.
So
I was just say, you're really good. August 31st. You just pulled that right out.
Is it Caden?
Acadia. Yeah.
Acadia J.
Acadia J.
Yeah. So 5 months old. Congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
too, because I don't know if I've seen you since then. congratulate you on that. So, you're a father, you're an entrepreneur, you're a husband today. So let's unpack that a little bit. Like let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey and how you figure out, being a father, newly father, somewhat newlyweds. I can't believe that's been 5 years. Have we known each other that long?
Yeah. Well, I want to say, so we met in RoofCon back in the year before COVID, maybe 2020 or 2018, 2019.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That was a while ago. So that's a funny story in itself.
Yeah.
And how we met. But I guess let me share that story real quick, because this is
crazy.
How ironic, and this is how I remembered it. So 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was. So Aaron is local to our area. So never met him and still didn't meet him yet. But our team ran into him down at RoofCon in Orange County, Florida, at the Orange County Convention Center there in Orlando, Florida. And so they're like, hey, you got to meet this guy, Aaron. He's from Dover. And so we got somebody introduced us to each other. But more crazy is that I found out, like, you're from Dover, right? And your wife, Brooke, is also a Dover high school teacher, or junior high, one of them. And that I think Mackenzie was one of your wives.
She graduated a year after us, I think. She was probably 2017.
Okay.
We graduated in 2016.
Okay, so you guys went to school together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe your wife was a teacher of one of my children.
So Rocket.
Okay.
She had Rocket in class.
Okay.
So that was 3 years ago now, whenever Rocket would have been in 7th grade.
Yeah. So crazy weird how small our roofing space is.
Wild.
But crazy weird that it took us going to Orlando to connect with each other. So, and honestly, I'm grateful that we have done that, have met each other, because of just the wonderful things that you have brought to our company and in our lives and stuff. And I know John just admires the shit out of you with the technology and the brain power that you bring to our company. And of course, so do I. And, in the sales people, there's probably so much that you do here that I don't know or are unaware of. And along with, and I'm saying that because I'm sure our sales team and people have no idea what it is that you actually do. And that's kind of what, we'll unpack that a little bit. But before we get there, let's talk more, about like your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
Like, how did this space find you?
Yeah. Good question. So I actually got started in entrepreneurship as a mobile DJ. So I don't know if you knew this, but I was going through high school I wasn't even high school. I was 13. I couldn't legally get a job yet because of labor laws. And I'm like, how do I make money? And what am I passionate about that I could use? What skills and talents do I have? And it was music for me. So I was always into music growing up. I was in marching band, played drums. And I'm like, what if I'm just a mobile DJ? Like, I could make some cash on the side. And so I asked my parents, I'm like, are you cool with this? Like, yeah, like, we're not going to like financially support you in it, but like, if it's something that you want to do, like, go, like, we're behind you 100%. So it was through that. I did that for 4 or 5 years, grew that to a point where I was doing more weddings on the weekends. I got stressed on weekends a lot because it was like the bride and groom's big day.
Yeah.
And I was like, this has to go perfectly. You only get married once, or it's just such a big moment that I was like, I don't want to be the DJ that drops the ball.
Yeah.
So it was very stressful. And I'm like, I don't know that I want this lifestyle anymore. I don't want the stress, and I don't want to always be on the weekends. Like, that was the biggest time where people got married, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it was through that. And then I ended up selling that company to a larger production company that did audio, video lighting for concerts and tours and more corporate events. And so when I sold to them, they're like, hey, would you join our team as well as like our sales and marketing rep? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, that sounds cool. I would love to learn marketing. And I was doing a little bit of marketing for my business at the time, but to kind of take those skills and apply it to a bigger business, I saw a cool opportunity there. So worked with them for a couple years, and it was through that I really developed my love for marketing, that passion. Fast forward a year after that, there was at the time the pastor of my church, he recently wrote a book, and he was like, hey, I want to take my message of this book and expand that beyond the four walls of the church. So from there, hooked up with him, and Michael Anthony, like he's a huge mentor in my life and still a good friend to me to this day. He married my wife and I.
Wow.
So I worked with him for about 2 years. And then I was like, hey, we're doing all this great stuff for you. I'd love to apply that for other businesses and stuff. So that's when the marketing agency came about. We started to apply the same skills and principles to different businesses. I love the home services space. We bought our house as a fixer-upper, did a lot of the renovations ourselves. So I liked the trades, and I'm like, there's a huge need for it in the trades because there's a lot of lead generators and marketers out there that they say a lot of things and they can't back that up. So I was like, how do we transform the industry? How do we transform the space and lead with integrity and honesty and transparency? And that's why we're here.
Yeah. No, you know, the one thing that stuck with me when you were sharing your story, especially early on in your entrepreneurial experience, was that you early on had experienced the pressures that come along with it. And I can't even imagine at 13 years old, you know, I grew up, you know, in a family owned and operated bar, restaurant, catering business. And I remember my parents, you know, because they catered a lot of weddings and a lot of receptions and all kinds of things like that, and how perfect everything had to be, from how we looked to how we presented the food. And my mom was you know, had been to culinary school and things like that after, you know, as an adult and stuff like that. But just so she wanted to, you know, sharpen her skills and stuff like that. So, okay. So your church, Anthony, I'm familiar with him. I'm aware. I know. Yeah. I know who he is. I think my friend Eric Brewer, I think they had a leak at their church over off of Blooming. What's the road over there?
It was you worked in UCLM.
Okay.
Yeah. Worked in UCLM.
Well, maybe he's moved churches or congregations or something like that. But I'm pretty sure I'm aware of that gentleman. But anyhow, I've only heard good things about that. So you got to experience that pressure of entrepreneurship early on in your you know, your career, and then you moved into the marketing space and stuff like that. But what what kept you, you know, once you experienced that pressure, what made you want to continue feeling that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For me, it was like I fell in love. Like I still love the concept of owning a business. Like being in business for yourself, you can set your own schedule. You can kind of create, like I would classify myself as a creative. So being able to create something and be proud of it. And for me, it wasn't necessarily that the entrepreneurship itself at that time was stressful. It was, I associated it with, it was the wedding side of things that was stressful because everything needed to be perfect for that one day.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, well, how do I still be an entrepreneur, but not have the stress and pressure of that specific industry? Now, hindsight being 2020, like that stress and pressure doesn't go away. Like it's always there in entrepreneurship, but yeah, I think I just really fell in love from an early age, like the ability to create something and to be proud of it and not have someone to tell you when you have to show up for work and just that freedom and flexible lifestyle and doing what you want.
Yeah. You know, that's something I think, you know, a lot of people, that's why they get into entrepreneurship right away. You know, they want to start a business because they think, you know, they're going to have that freedom out of the gate. And some companies may start out that way where the owner, you know, has that freedom and stuff like that. But do you feel like, have you gotten that freedom yet? Have you, you know, did you start out where it's like, you know, I had that freedom, or do you feel like you know, your business still kind of owns you at times? Does that ever go away?
Yeah, good question. And I think it's different seasons of business too. Like there's a time period where it was just myself. Like I was the guy. So I was doing all the web design. I was doing the SEO. I was doing all the lead gen. I didn't have a team behind me. So at that point, there was definitely some stress because I was managing everything. And like if balls were being dropped with the clients, like it was my ownership. I have to step up and make sure that it's being taken care of. I think right now, what I'm experiencing is a different type of stress and pressure with how do we grow a team? Like we're hiring like crazy. We're training new people like crazy. And it's like, there's a different type of stress and overwhelm now.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Yeah, to touch more about that, because I was thinking earlier, when you said the pressure from the weddings, right? Like
Mm.
that's just isn't. I felt like you didn't like that because you can't thrive in that type of pressure. You know
Mm.
what I mean? But like for me, right, there's pressures that I thrive and I do really well in.
Yeah.
It's almost like I need to have that added layer of pressure in order to perform very well, but it has to be a project or the industry that I'm in that I have a passion
Mm.
and need that extra push of anxiety to be the creator, or the builder or whatever it is that we're into. So it sounds like early on you were able to find like that niche where you can actually thrive in that controlled chaos and be creative within that controlled chaos. Would that be
Yeah,
accurate?
I would say it's like the whole concept of like falling in love with the game. Like
Mhm.
when you realize that entrepreneurship, it's not necessarily a destination. Like, do we have goals
Mhm.
to sell and like build this big massive company and have that legacy? Absolutely.
Mhm.
But it's falling in love with the journey of the game and like waking up knowing that how do I hire the right people? How do I
Mhm.
train them to make sure that our clients are being taken care of? But also like, how do I get my time back? So I've
Mhm.
just recently been finishing up a book, Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time.
Love that book.
Completely changed the way that I thought about
Yeah,
business.
right.
And it was from reading that book. Since reading that book, we've made 4 or 5 new hires
Mhm.
within the last month.
Yeah.
And it's been crazy because at first I'm always like, do I want a big company? Because big companies sound stressful.
Mhm.
Managing large teams, 100 plus employees, like, do I desire that? And in his book, he's like, no, the reason why you want to build a big business is so that you can have the freedom.
Mhm.
Because if you have a big business and you have a team and you can delegate, then you buy back your time and you have that freedom.
Yeah.
So that completely changed.
Yeah, that's such a good book. And there was a term or a phrase that he used, like, don't hire to like fix your problems, but hire to or to make more money, but you're hiring to buy back your
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And that's such a good philosophy, because I think a lot of times, like, early on for me, I would hire people thinking that they would solve my issues.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But trying to find the right person who may be smarter than me in certain aspects of things, or can just do it better than the way that I'm doing it now, is it's hard to determine if you're hiring the right people. Or one of the biggest things that I struggled with was keeping the wrong people around too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Right. So, and of course you live and you learn, and you crash and you burn. Right. And you make a lot of mistakes along the way. And, but I think, that sense of freedom that I get from just, the entrepreneurship journey that I've been on isn't necessarily the amount of time that I've gotten back, but maybe from the sense of accomplishment, right? Like,
Mm.
because today it's more so about like developing people and creating co-leaders and things like that. Those are the things that I kind of nerd out on, and that's just the season that I'm in. I'm not saying that like that's what your focus needs to be early on in entrepreneurship. I think it's more of a hustle and grind, and let's get this thing, built out, and then get the framework built so then we can easily duplicate this, so I can find a replacement for myself in certain aspects of the task that I'm, putting myself through. And I mean through, because I put myself through a lot of stuff early on, and still do at times. Like, I'll still start other ventures.
Mm.
Right. And I know not to hold on to it as long as I used to, because that was a lot of my problem, is that I thought nobody could do it as good as me.
Mm.
This is my baby. I put the blood, sweat, and tears into it. But today it's kind of like, I know I can sense when it's becoming too much for me with all of the other irons in the fire that I have. So it's kind of like, okay, do I have this documented well enough in order to pass this off to somebody else? And why that's so important is because I've ran business with everything up here. Right. And what happened to me from doing that is, nobody knew what else was going on. Right. They didn't know, like, everything was so inconsistent, and I was inconsistent because I didn't document. I didn't even write it down. It was basically off of feel and intuition. And we're just going to go this direction today, and we're going to do that tomorrow. And then I'd show up for work the next day and it would totally change. So everybody was kind of sort of waiting outside my office door, waiting for me to tell them what to do, opposed to me training them on how to think for themselves on their own. Right. But I was teaching them, basically training them how to, what to think, not how to think, if that makes sense. And until I started to really like create the framework, like the 20% piece of it. And I think he might even talk about that, and then hand that off to them and let them build out the 80% of it, but then following back up with them too, because I think a lot of times people think delegating means just pawning things off and forgetting about it.
Yeah.
And then circling back in 6 months, wondering why nothing moved forward, or it was done wrong or inaccurate. But then you also got to realize too, there's also more than one way to do something too. So there's a fine line of critiquing somebody, right? And taking the wind out of their sails, or encouraging them like, wow, I really love your thought behind this. I would have never did it that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doesn't mean it was the right way or the wrong way. It was just the way that they came up with finishing the project.
Yeah. And I love hearing you share about that, because you can sense the passion that you have with building into people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think oftentimes, going back to the previous point about like freedom and like what is freedom?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think sometimes we associate with freedom with, oh, hey, I'm just going to sit on a beach and sip cocktails and like life is good and I'm not going to work at all.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's not what freedom is. Freedom is being able to do what I want with my time, of what I'm passionate about. And like, you went from being a roofing contractor to being a business owner, that instead of your time focused on building roofs and projects and all of that, you now have the freedom to use your time to pour into a team, to coach your team, to make sure that you have other co-leaders stepping up in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you find your passion. And like, that's freedom. Like, you're still working, but you're working and you're allocating your time to what you're passionate about.
And what's funny about that is I'm probably working more now, but I don't really necessarily consider it work, because this is just what I do.
Yeah. And it's fun.
And you're so right about, this is what makes me feel free today is basically choosing, okay, I want to pour into this person today, and not being held captive or handcuffed to my business where it owns me and it's dragging me through the mud and I can't see the forest through the trees, because I've been there. And sometimes I can still get myself in that position where it's like, I've lost the clarity of like, whether it's from like, what is my purpose today? Or, it's so close to my face that I can't even make a decision. But like I said earlier, like I know now to let go sooner, because that, honestly, quite frankly, I wish I would have probably let go a little sooner, because we might be a little further along. But at that moment, when you start to let go of certain things, tasks, jobs, responsibilities and things, and start empowering other people, when you let go and start encouraging and empowering other people, that's when the true growth of the company starts to happen. Not just because you gave it to somebody else and they can do it a lot quicker, but through some of the errors and mistakes that I've made and then allow them to make, then not only are we learning from the mistakes, but we are both now learning, from those mistakes. And you got to leave a lot of room and become callous that mistakes are going to happen, and not be so judgmental, and have empathy for those that might be making those mistakes, that truly want to do a good job, but made a mistake, because that's where growth happens, right? And knows pain. And if they love what they do, they're going to take it to heart that, oh, I screwed up, right? But they're going to learn. And so many scenarios are going through my head right now where, I've watched people make mistakes, and guess what? It's never happened again. Yeah. But that's where like SOPs and KPIs have been developed and born. And that framework that we talked about earlier, the framework is basically our standards and operating procedures, and like, this is what I've came up with so far, and, take it and run with it, and, benefit from it, reorganize it, do what you want to do with it. And giving people that authority to be able to do that is where true growth for me took place, because that's not me. That wasn't me 10 years ago. It's my way or the highway. But here's what I've come up with. You take a look at it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, because I'm sure there's a lot of nuances and corners that I can't see around at this, at the level that I'm at. But here it is. Go with it, run with it. Tell me what you think, and let's reconnect in a week or so. You know what I mean? But no, that's good. And I love business, right? I love
Such a fun game.
It is. I was just thinking that we're getting ready to kind of redesign some internal things, and you know, for the past couple of weeks, I've been really nerding out on, you know, certain things of how we track certain things, and most of it's financials and stuff like that. And I find it so interesting, you know, to be in the place that I am right now. Like, there are some things that are probably pretty obvious that weren't so obvious to me earlier on, but are obvious to me today, right? That as I'm going through and I'm drawing these things out, and I kind of showed Vic a picture of how we're going to manage, you know, our finances and stuff, that is so much different than it was when I first got into business, and the leverage that I have today, with financial institutes, and different opportunities that I've been presented because of being in business as long as we have been, or the trust that I've gained with financial institutes, and the credit that we have. Like, just all of these things, how things are so much different today, that one, there are so many different things that we don't utilize, that we need to start utilizing if we want to become, you know, the organization that I think I see the vision for.
Sure.
Right. We need help from other organizations. We need more people. We need to make sure that we have the right people in the seats on the bus. Right. And thinking, because a lot of this went back 6-9 months ago, where I was getting ready for 2025. Like, literally, we were talking about our marketing efforts, our brand awareness, the products that we were going to use. And a lot of people are thinking about that stuff right now.
Yeah.
And it is my job today as the chief energy officer, is to, you know, have those projections, whether they're financial projections, and how, not just that, but how are we going to achieve them, and have it broken out per quarter, per month, on average, weekly, like all of these things. And when you start really drilling down into that stuff, and that, for me, is the fun part. Like, it just kind of gave me goosebumps just thinking about it, and then pulling these levers and hitting these buttons, and then watching it come to fruition the next day, the week. Some things take an entire quarter to find out if you made the right decision or not. But it's so much like the thrill of the kill, or the hunt, you know, kind of feeling that I get and gain. And it's like, I don't really look at things as problems anymore. I look at it as a challenge, and challenge accepted, more so than, oh my God, we're going to die, you know, kind of thing, you know, especially like going through COVID. Like, we got through and learned and gained, and really it put us where we are today. Like, it was the best thing that ever happened for us, and not necessarily to us.
Yeah. I can completely relate to that, especially like all the, like, we're already digital marketing. And I think COVID had a lot of blessings for us, because it opened up the world, and it's allowed the world to be a much smaller place, that you don't think twice about doing business with someone across the world, or across the country,
or hiring somebody,
or hiring. Yeah. You literally, from a business owner, like, I literally get the pick of the best talent in the world. So some of our web designers, some of our coding, and some of our engineers, like, they're in India. Some of more of our social media, like, Philippines is so strong when it comes to digital marketing frameworks. And so you can go to these different parts of the world, Colombia and Latin America, amazing call centers, amazing people that can do like client success management and stuff. So
love that.
You get to open up so many different parts of the world. It's so cool to see the different cultures and the different work ethics, and like, you're assembling your Avenger team from all over the world.
Yeah, man.
Which is so cool.
It is. It's pretty, you know, so which leads us to, you know, let's talk a little bit more about like what you're doing today with Sales Gadget. Like, what is it? Like let me know. I know what it is, I think. You know what I mean? I think I know what, you know, I know what you do for us. I'll put it that way. But I do know you have many other irons in the fire. So let us know tell us what it is that you do.
Yeah, for sure. So when we started out in the agency space, we were a full service marketing company, just like any other one. So web design, SEO, lead gen on Facebook, Google, local service ads, pretty much your entire gamut of marketing, right? I believe in an omnipresent approach. I'm not one to just say Facebook is the only thing that works, go do Facebook. SEO is the only thing to work. You should put all of your money into SEO. the end of the day, marketing, it works. All platforms work if you work it right.
Mhm.
So it was within the last 6 months that we really focused on what are those things that move the needle the furthest for our clients. And it was a combination of all of these different things. It was a combination of Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO, AI with speed to lead, and making sure that we have good communication,
Mhm.
reputation management, making sure we're getting those Google reviews. So all of it worked. And it's like, well, how do we package this in a easy to consume way that
Mhm.
makes sense? So that's why we developed our 4-pillar marketing framework. So we have 4 pillars that we focus on.
Mhm.
One is our neighborhood takeover strategy, which is all about Facebook ads in a very localized area. So we actually teach and train sales teams to record selfie videos in front of a neighborhood sign, in front of the local giant, the Walmart, key visual hooks where people can relate to and they drive by often. They record a selfie video. Hey, we're doing work in the area. John and Mary called us out. They had a leak. Just tell the story and then a quick call to action. So that's neighborhood takeover. That's all about the Facebook ads of it. Pillar number 2 is once we start generating some of those leads, what's the follow-up process? And what we've noticed through seeing our client accounts, there's a lot of leads that come after hours. So you'd be surprised the amount of leads that come in at 6, 7 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
We even have leads that come in at 12 o'clock midnight. And I was actually looking at one of our client accounts the other day, and he had a lead that came in at 11 p.m. And our AI immediately engaged with them. They were dialoguing back and forth between 11 and 12:30 at night. And then by 12:45, we had a booked appointment with them.
Wow.
Could be that they were working third shift or
Mhm.
different shift work. They're up at different times. So that's the second pillar is speed to lead. How do we nurture and convert those leads that we're generating into appointments? Third being reputation management, all about Google reviews,
Mhm.
your social media presence. And then the last pillar is AI-driven SEO. So what location pages, service pages, blog posts are we
Mhm.
creating on your site to make sure that you're ranking in those money keywords, those roofing contractors in York, roofing companies, York, PA, that type of deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys are fully engaged with AI.
We love it. We
Okay.
love it. We're building some pretty cool tech. Some of our clients are using it. It's voice AI. So one of the things that we heard in the space is homeowners, they hate how contractors are horrible with communication. They don't answer the phone. They try to call for an estimate. They're not open after hours. It's like if you're doing roof replacements and your average ticket's 20, 25K and you're not answering the phone, that's a lot of missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So we've developed voice AI that can answer the phone for them, qualify them, get the details about the job and the appointment, and then actually schedule that to the calendar for them.
Wow. Wow. How do you see AI changing our industry?
Yeah, I would say it's already had in a major way. So specifically in the roofing space, you see a lot of different AI companies popping up for a variety of things. So one being like I forget the name of the Rilla. Forget the name, like the sales trainer.
Yeah.
So the fact that you can literally have a wearable device
Yeah.
that records a conversation and you can train your sales team with AI.
Mhm.
You can literally, AI can tap into the best sales trainer in the world,
Yeah.
right? And train your team on that. And so that's one really good use case. Our use case is obviously communication. So being able to have really good communication with your homeowners, making sure that the ball is not being dropped, and making sure if they're reaching out to you that if they want an estimate, you make it easy for them to schedule that estimate with you. So there's so many use cases. We're using it for content creation, blog posts, location pages. It's just allowed things. It's allowed you to do so much more in a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
Before we were paying full-time copywriters to hopefully write a blog post in 5 hours. Now a blog post can be written in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Multiple.
Yeah.
Blog post. Yeah. So would you say AI is the engine behind a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing and performing for contractors today?
Yeah. So I would say that it's not the only engine. Like I'm not one to believe that AI, it produces it and you should just copy and paste it and put it right on your site.
Right.
Like it needs some massaging. It needs some tooling for it to sound good and for Google not to like say, hey, you're obviously just producing all this content and it's just scammy content. So, but we train our team to use it when creating outlines for content, when doing keyword research and analysis, when creating the baselines of how do I create Google business profile posts, social media posts. So we empower a team to use it, but making sure that you still have the thought process like that how am I going to adapt this so that you're compliant with search engines and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So if, let's just say we weren't using AI, if a roofing company that wasn't using it, how would they go about, like, where would I go? Do I just call you up, or is there so many other companies out there? Like, is this a special niche that you have cornered the market in?
Yeah.
Like, what should I look for too? Like, if they say that they use AI for SEO and for writing blog posts and things like that, like, if I had no idea what I was doing, what should I look for?
Yeah. I would say a lot of what we're finding in the space is just making sure that if you're a roofing company, make sure that you do the due diligence over asking the right questions with your marketing agency. So if they prove to have some magical secret silver bullet, I would call them out on their BS and say, like, what is your silver bullet? Because there's not a magical system. It's marketing principles. And when applied correctly, that's where you see success.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, like, if you're looking into this type of deal, there's a lot of solutions out there that if you're tech savvy, if you're a business owner that you like to geek out over the tech tools and AI and how to use it to grow your business, there's so many resources out there that you could probably perform a lot of this yourself.
Okay.
You can go to ChatGPT and have it prompt it to create blog posts or location pages, or ask it like, hey, I'd like you to act in the style of Alex Hormozy and Grant Cardone. Please produce me a video script that I can use to get more leads on Facebook. Boom. Gives you a script, pull out your phone, put on a teleprompter app, record it. Like, there's just so many use cases that if you just embrace AI and not view it as like AI is too complicated, too technical, there's no way that I'll know how to utilize it. Like, just start opening up ChatGPT and just talk with it. And then you'll begin to see the power of how you can use it in content creation and your marketing.
Would you say that if a company elected not to start using AI, like, what would be the ramifications of that?
Yeah, you're going to be severely, severely left behind, because you got to think, like, your competitors, they're embracing AI. They're producing content at scale. Google loves content, right? They love blog posts. They love making sure that you're an authority on specific topics. They want to make sure that they understand your locations that you serve. And if one contractor is only producing one location page a week or one blog a month, and you have this other competitor that's really embracing AI and they can do that stuff with speed and ease, and they're producing 20 location pages and 5 blog posts or 20 blog posts a month, which one do you think is going to win? It's going to be the one that's producing the most content. So
would you say most businesses are applying AI as one of their helpers for marketing?
I think, I think a lot of businesses, they want to, but they might get stuck on, like, how to. Like, AI is such a buzzword. Everyone's using AI, and it's like, well, what does AI actually mean? What is artificial intelligence?
Right. Yeah.
And how do I use it?
Right.
And there's so many different use cases. Like I said, there's the content creation side of it, of producing content for your website, your blog post, location pages. But then there's also, how do I utilize AI to make sure that my homeowners are not being left behind and missed calls are happening? So it's one of those things that can be overwhelming when it's like, all right, I got to use AI for my business, but what does that mean?
Right.
You got to break that down further and be like, well, what does it mean to use AI in my marketing? What does it mean to use AI in my communication strategy?
Right.
What does it mean to use AI in my sales training strategy and philosophy? And what tools can I use to adapt it? So I think a lot of companies want to use it, but it could be overwhelming with, where do I start, or how do I do it?
Yeah, because that would be my question. I mean, if it wasn't for you and John and a couple other people, I mean, I wouldn't know where to get started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why we've been so lucky to have met, because you have seemed to be out in the forefront of, the new technology that's moving. And that's the other cool thing, that I love about business too, is being an early adopter of something, and trying new things and thinking outside the box. And AI is definitely that thinking outside the box, but it's been around long enough for people like you and companies like Sales Gadget to have, I don't want to say master it, because it's like Google, things change all the time. It's staying up, but like, this is what you do every day. So you are more dangerous with it than anybody, quite frankly, that I know at this point. What do you think the biggest mistake is? I think it's been around long enough. What do you think the biggest mistake that you've seen people are using, how they're using AI right now?
Yeah, I think it goes back to just thinking that AI is going to magically solve all of your problems with no other human input. Like
Mhm.
I'm a firm believer that there's going to be job roles and people are going to be hiring AI engineers
Mhm.
specifically for prompt engineering. How am I talking to AI and how am I using AI to get me the best output?
Mhm.
And so if you're someone that's just like you're using AI just to write content and you're copy and pasting it,
Mhm. Mhm.
there's there's going to be no unique advantage for you versus your competition. Like you still have to inject in with your blogs and your pages, like your personal stories, how you help specific homeowners. Like you still have to have that personal touch. So I
Right.
think the biggest detriment would be like just utilizing it as a tool that I can just copy and paste and say that that's good enough and just create all of this content that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. You want to
Mhm.
make sure that it is optimized and still using the age-old best practices
Mhm.
around SEO and marketing and content creation.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. What do you predict the future of AI looks like?
Yeah. It's a it's a scary one too cuz you hear all the horror stories about how we're all going to be replaced by robots and like
Mhm.
this dystopian vision of what AI is doing.
Yeah.
Do I see that as a concern? Sure.
Mhm.
Like the amount of advancement that we saw from what 3-4 years ago when ChatGPT and OpenAI
Yeah.
like first became a thing,
Mhm.
consumer level,
Yeah.
until where it advanced now. Like
Mhm.
it's crazy the how much advancement happened in those short 2-3 years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so fast forward 10 years from now,
Mhm.
20 years from now, like what does that really mean?
Yeah.
So I think there are, as with anything, the internet was an amazing invention, but is it also used for a lot of really evil and corrupt things?
Of course.
For sure.
Yeah.
AI is going to be the same thing. There's going to be a lot of tremendous opportunity to do good.
Mhm.
I was reading an article the other day about how it's going to be used in the healthcare system. How all of your EMRs, your electronic medical records,
Mhm.
if built with AI, it can access all of these different medical records all across the globe.
Wow.
And so your doctors and specialists can then get diagnoses a lot faster because it's
Mhm.
not anymore just locate or depending on their specific knowledge of what they know to be true in the medical
Mhm.
space, but it can pull from all of these different diagnoses and cures. And I mean, they're talking about being able to cure cancer
Mhm.
and be able to early detect it in DNA
Yeah.
and then use that DNA to build a vaccine and then use AI to develop that vaccine for that specific person and their specific DNA within 48 hours.
Wow.
Like that's what's coming 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah.
Incredible advancement in the
Yeah.
healthcare space.
Yeah.
So
So you don't see it replacing. I mean, I'm not saying that there wouldn't be some form of, work that AI couldn't replace, but I guess it's almost like, going to the grocery store and there's that self
yeah.
checkout. Like you still need someone supervising that. And there's still, people manning the
Mhm.
checkout and stuff like that. How do you see Google playing? Like, do you see that affecting, will AI, at least for somebody like me on how I use AI, like I'll ask it a question,
Mhm.
right? For something that I need educated on or something like that. And I go to Google all the time and search something. Now that it's becoming like a search engine, right? Like for me to search things, how do you think that's going to affect Google?
Yeah, I think right now Google obviously has the market share.
Hmm.
Everyone, like if you don't know something, you Google it. And
Hmm.
I think we're still early on. I don't know that AI and OpenAI and some of these other AI platforms will truly ever replace Google.
Hmm.
Just because Google has a lot of other IP, they have Google Maps, they have their Google business profiles and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But we're already seeing how homeowners are going to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, give me a recommendation of a roofer." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, how do we have ChatGPT recommend us as a company
Hmm.
versus my competitor?
Yeah.
And it's all search engine optimization. It's all
Hmm.
SEO.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that there's going to be more adoption in the space where, especially the younger generation, instead of Googling something,
Yeah.
they're just going to put it in ChatGPT because they know that it's a lot more powerful than
Hmm.
Google.
Yeah. Let's talk a little more about the detriment of it, because, and I'm going to use Garmin and TomTom as an example,
Yeah,
going back, showing my age here a little bit. So
I remember the Garmin,
I'll
man.
be
I
honest with
remember.
you, like even spell check has ruined me. Okay. Like I feel like I'm so illiterate
Sure.
anymore that I can't even think for myself. I can't even drive home without looking at down, even though I don't necessarily have to punch my address in
Yep.
driving from work, but like, I feel like I can't even get across town anymore without my GPS. What type of effect do you think ChatGPT is going to have on people in that sense?
Yeah. I think to the point of like detriment, like how are they going to know how to problem solve
Yeah.
for themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the reason why I brought that up is me personally, I'm very careful with how I use ChatGPT because I know I'm looking back over my life, right? When, when I was a service manager for a roofing company and I got around York County with, I can't remember the name of the map book. It was like a book, literally like a book that you could get at Rutter's or Tom's when Tom's was a gas station. But I would literally use that and highlight, routes of, when I would plan my day because I was in the service department. So I do, a 40-minute job here, a 2-hour job there. So I would try to map my day out. And then, TomTom came about, right? And then Garmin came out with their, where you would suction cup it to the windshield and, and then that technology got more sophisticated where I could actually start plugging in all of the addresses and then it would kind of tell me how and when, in chronological order. Right. And so for me, I'm not, the most smartest guy in the room, which I used to think I was at one point in time in my life, but I've surrounded myself fortunately around a lot smarter people, but I don't want to make myself any dumber than I already have become because of the tools and technologies that I use today. So for me, I'm very, very leery, or not leery, but very conscious of how I use especially ChatGPT, that form of AI, because I even went back to writing notes instead of typing notes. And I went back to actually reading books instead of listening to books because I felt like something, like I wasn't retaining things as well as I was just even a few months ago. Like is when I probably started to notice where I started to become more dependent upon technology, where, like you said, I couldn't even think like critically or problem solve without going to, hey Siri, how do you spell?
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't pick that up. Sorry. Go away.
She's always listening.
But so I was asked to, I co-authored in 2 different books. One was Hunter Blue's recent book, and then Daniel Zavatny had asked me to co-author amongst, John Scenic and a whole group of just really smart people. So I was very flattered, and I, of course, I'm a procrastinator, but not just that. It was just kind of like, what do I want to write about? How deep do I want to go? There isn't much space, so I got to cram it all in there. And somebody made the comment to me like, why don't you just chat GBT it? And I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like that. I want it to be me that writes this. And as I started to write this, that's when, because this was several months ago, and Daniel asked me before Hunter did, that's when I think I started to realize like, holy shit, like I can't even string together enough thoughts because of one, where I was at that time with everything else that was going on, that I needed to have like everything quiet. I needed to make sure it was like a Sunday morning where I just kind of like, I can jam out pretty good on thoughts and theories and plans and visions and stuff on Sunday mornings. But I thought, how pathetic is it that I can't even really write my own life story without relying so much on spell check and Grammarly, right? Which is so super freaking annoying, right? But I've actually learned how to use Grammarly to my advantage to help me with my grammar and punctuality and things like that, because I started to like practice, like, putting commas in, like that, you start text messaging, like none of us are great grammar kings when it comes to text messaging. Like, yes, should have a comma, then sir, then exclamation point. We're writing yes sir exclamation point. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was like a reminder to me of like how horrible of a writer that I am. You know what I mean? I know that might sound crazy, but it's kind of like I'm testing. I'm going back to like the basics. I'm reading literature. I'm reading books. Yes, I'm listening to podcasts, and I do listen to books and things like that. But I'm actually taking the time to sit down and write things out. All of my notes here most recently, I got myself the old school graph paper with the holes already punched in it so I can put it in a binder because I can't just have notebooks because I'll lose it and just, once I fill it up, then what? So I got myself a little 3-ring binder that with some graph paper in it. And I literally started to
love that.
Started to write again because I found myself not knowing how to write words that I know for a fact that I knew how to write in the past. So for me, I think that's what technology on the negative side has started to do to me. And like you touched on earlier, I'm terrified for our children and our children's children of are they even going to know how to communicate first and foremost with each other without emailing or text messaging or whatever form of communication might be out in 10 years that maybe it might be able to read your eyes. I have no idea. Like we won't even have to.
You just think it and it just does it.
You know what I mean? So it's just, and I guess if there's a message in there, I would say, be careful with it. It is a powerful tool, but be careful and leverage it like you would anything else in life or in business. Leverage it to create reels. But again, it still needs someone to supervise it because they may spell fish, PHISH, when you needed it to be fish, FISH, right? Thank God. Hopefully I didn't misspell them because my brain's becoming mush with all of the new technology. But but I've seen that. And I've seen people make those mistakes where they're just trying to churn and burn reels out, but they didn't even edit the subtitles in it. You know what I mean? Or the text at the bottom where it's popping up. So yes, that's if there's a message in there, just be careful, get back. And there's nothing wrong with reading a book, and writing out notes.
And it's refreshing too. Like when you're, especially for me, like I notice myself, like I use technology all day long. I look at a computer screen all day long. It's like nothing gives me more energy than like if I can go home and just like read a physical book and like be away from my screen. So in a sense, like I have so much more appreciation for the analog, even though that what we do is a lot of digital. We do it because we have to, and like it's a good tool to use for efficiency, but never lose sight of like going back to the basics of handwriting stuff. I mean, even like from team building, like go out of your way and do a handwritten note versus like a text message of appreciation. Like that alone will help tremendously in your team culture. So there's just certain things like use it as a tool. Use it as a tool and don't just rely on it 100% of the time, and just utilize it in a good way and be aware. Like self-awareness is also a huge key of, am I depending on this a little bit too much? Do I need to step back and start handwriting stuff again? Do I need to read more physical books and stop with the audio books? So just, have that self-awareness to know if you're in too deep.
Yeah, for sure. So what makes Sales Gadget stand out? From any other sales gadget type of tool or company?
I would say the company level, just like our culture of who we are. Like we do business with people, and we lead with transparency, integrity. We focus on character, and you hear the horror stories. And just recent clients that we signed up, they always have the stories of like, oh, this marketing company burned me, they're a scammer. And it's like we're put here on this planet and this earth for a reason, and we want to make sure that we're doing good work and we're performing for people. So I would say that's one thing. Like I would much rather make sure that my clients are having a positive experience with us than just cashing a check or swiping a credit card. So definitely like the integrity behind what you're doing. But then I would say on the other side is just our innovation. Like I am naturally, I'm a tech geek. I love to geek out on tech, on AI, on new tools, and probably to my team's detriment, because I'm always like, hey, check this out. Like, what do you think? Can we start using this?
Right.
And I would say that like partnering with us, you're going to get someone who's always on the leading edge. Like we're always looking at what is the latest tool that we can use and apply, and do we see success with it? If we do, then we can go ahead and scale that across the counts and all that stuff. So
Nice.
yeah,
No, I love that. And I agree with everything that you said. That's my impression. That's what I've experienced.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. From you, from your team, you have always gone over and beyond for us. And I know that, and you're always there when we need you, for any questions that John may have, or any new campaign that we want to start running or whatever. Like you're top notch for real. Okay. So before we get off here, what would you say is your most rewarding thing about being an entrepreneur? Not a father, but necessarily, and you can go down that way too, but like, what is the most rewarding thing that you get from being in the position that you're in right now?
Yeah, I think easily to sum it up is just helping people. Like I was always brought up in a family that, like, you served others. I grew up in the church, and so volunteering was a big focus of mine. And I think when it comes to like your career endeavors and being an entrepreneur, you get to create, and your product and service gets to serve other people to help them excel and get results and grow their businesses. So I think that's my biggest takeaway, is just having a space where I can serve. And like you hear often about like people, are you going to volunteer? What's your volunteerism like? And like you work a 9-to-5 job, and like you don't really associate your 9-to-5 with serving others. But I would say that it's all encompassing. When you're at your 9-to-5, you're serving your coworkers, you're serving your team, you're serving, in our case, we're serving our clients. So just being passionate about helping people and giving back and serving and making sure that our clients are being taken care of, and that we can just provide a level of experience and expertise in the space that needs it. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about what you just said is that you actually get paid to do what you love, and that's to serve others. And that's something that we talk about a lot at our meetings. It's like, we're here to serve each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And because that we're good at, what we do, is that we get the opportunity to serve our community and impact our communities, and we love what we do. And the crazy part about this is that we get paid to do what we love. And, and it's not about the money, but the catch-22, or the paradox about that is, the more that you serve, believe it or not, the more that you get paid.
It's true.
Do you know what I mean? And that's just the tip, the reward of doing the next right thing, having impact on people's lives, and catering to their needs, and really sincerely taking care of them in ways that they didn't know were even imaginable at times. And that's definitely what you have done for us. And we were just talking about B&H, which is a place where we get microphones and cameras and stuff from. And
great company, great customer service.
The customer service is exactly what we were talking about. Like, I will order something, and not just how quick it did, but I'm serious.
It's like next day.
Saturday night. Okay. Saturday, 8 p.m. Okay. Because they close certain hours on Saturday, but they're open on Sundays. So if you order something 8 p.m., 9 o'clock, 10:30, I don't care. Saturday night, it gets processed and is delivered. Now they say Tuesday, but it showed up. Our last stuff is we got the 50th anniversary Rode mics from them. Of course, it's red. They'd only let me buy 2 because they're limited edition, but I'm going to try to sneak in under Vic's accounts.
There you go. Yeah. Just create new profiles.
Yeah, right.
I'll order some for you.
Yeah. Right. But the service is, and years when we started using them quite a few years ago, and it was like, dude, that's the standard.
Yeah.
Like, if we call them and we have questions about any type of equipment, even if we didn't buy it from them, okay, they sell it. They know they have specialists, like, and I don't know where they're at, but they're like, let me put you on hold real quick. Johnny specializes in the Sony, whatever, AX7. And Johnny comes on the phone. He's like, yeah, what's happening? Not annoyed, not irritated. We didn't have to wait 30 minutes, like, just walks you through, sends you a link. Right, for the owner's manual or a YouTube video or something. Do you know what I mean? We ordered, man, I can't remember what it was. And I had to call them. We were down at the other studio, and just a couple of years ago, man, they walked me through what I think we were having trouble with the Black Magic camera.
Yeah.
At that time, something was going on, and come to find out, I think it was too cold. Because we didn't have heat in our old studio back then.
I remember it.
And the cameras were getting too cold.
Yeah.
And he walked us through it. And like when it would warm up, there was, you know, condensation building up on the lens, like just stupid things. But like he helped us through that. And it wasn't even necessarily a technical issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a situational atmosphere situation where he's like, so where are you guys located? We're like, we're probably 4 hours east or west of you guys. We're in York, PA. Oh yeah, New York, PA. Yeah, I got relatives there living here. It was just, you know, and he's like, well, what's the temperature you have? Yeah, and he just thought of everything and crossed every T and dotted every I for us. So, but anyhow, they serve.
Yeah. And that guy probably got so much passion from helping you. Like he's like, dude, it brought him joy and gave him energy knowing that he was able to solve your problem. Like, that's how I feel when we go above and beyond for our clients, is that gives me joy and energy that it's like, dude, let's do more of this. Like, I just want to outserve people. Yeah,
for sure. Definitely. That's what makes you the most wealthiest. And that's where true success lives, is in that. It's not monetarily, it's the fulfillment you feel by helping somebody. Right. And especially if you can figure it out, right? Like Johnny did, you know, from the call center, from B&H, right? Like that sense of, you know, not commitment, but that satisfaction that he felt of completion, you know, that I can't think of the word that I was looking for, but he felt completed, you know, fulfilled. And, you know, and that's what I chase today. I chase that feeling of fulfillment, and I have passion for it, you know. Do I have good days every, you know, some days I do have to take care of myself too, but, you know, but in order to take care of other people, but that's just that's what business is about. And to have a successful business is finding people's pain points, and, you know, if you can figure out how to cure things, you know, and ailments and pain for other people, you're going to be super successful no matter what industry you're in. And truly that's what it's about. And if that's your true motives, is to help other individuals. Dude, listen, I have made some really bad business decisions, just not in order to hurt other people, but just, let's just say, financial decisions where I may have overspent on something, some force, the universe, something has always looked out for us because our intentions were always good.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think you necessarily have to graduate from Harvard Business School or anything like that to run a successful business. I think if you're truly passionate about helping other people, the universe just makes sure that you're still relevant later.
So true.
You know, it makes your wins outweigh your bad decisions.
So true.
You know, and honestly, I think that's how we did it. That's how we are still here today, is just by doing the next right thing, especially when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool, man. What a great conversation.
So your pastor's on here.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
Okay.
Post it up.
Yeah.
What we got? Michael Anthony. Toughest thing about being a business owner. I would say, yeah, definitely for me right now in this season of life is, how do you balance entrepreneurship and business ownership with being present with family? We have an incredible 5-month-old at home, and I want to spend all my time with her, but I also know, like, I got to provide for my family too. So it's, what is that healthy balance? Not letting business consume me, but how do I have that healthy balance? I don't believe that there is a such thing of work-life balance, because I think it's always a dance. But I would say that's probably the most challenging and toughest part right now, is just time. Like, when you're so passionate about something and you want your business to succeed and you just want to serve people, it's easy to work 50, 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But you can't neglect what's happening at home and all that. So
no, I would 100% agree with that statement that you just made. You know, finding that we call it work-life blend, because I don't know if there's ever going to be a balance. But I find that the more time, especially in the season that I'm in right now, 2 years ago, I started to make sure I spent some intentional time with Rocket every morning. And I kind of have strayed away from that actually with, traveling and stuff and time zone changes and stuff like that. My sleeping
It's hard.
pattern gets a little goofed up, but I find, I try to arrange my schedule where I'm home on weekends, and I do that so I can spend enough time with, my grandchildren, my children, and most importantly, Jana, because I find, you never shut off. I think the battle of trying to shut it off, business, I stopped worrying about that so much, because when I'm in a different atmosphere, and usually with my family, is when some of the best visions come to me. When I can actually remove myself from my office or out in front of the computer screen or off my phone and put my phone down for a minute, and we're outside working on a project together. Rocket and I built this golf net. It's like a batting cage. Literally, we built a batting cage for hitting
Love
golf
it.
balls. We
Yeah.
both started playing golf this past year, and that took our relationship to a whole nother level. Was learning something together.
That's cool.
But it's become so rejuvenating for me, even though it's an hour here, an hour there, half hour there, 3 hours here. It becomes so rejuvenating for me to have to get that clarity back again, and why, and helps me put things in perspective, because I love them so much. I can't fail.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
feel that.
I have to succeed.
Yeah.
And it has given me my passion and my drive, because let's not forget why we started this, right? Like, it is to provide for our family and other families. And a big part of that is our family,
Yeah.
and I have to be present, even though it might be 5 minutes. But I